The Hoonicorn is now in the Crew series, and I would probably say it's one of the most requested vehicles even before. I do know a lot of people back in the day wanted this thing to be in the Crew 2 so dang bad, and I did have a feeling that maybe they were most likely saving something like this for a new game. And here we are now, guys, on Motorfest driving the Hoonicorn. This thing is absolutely insane, definitely worth every bit of it. If you are wondering, by the way, the vehicle is currently only available to the Season Pass holders. But luckily, in around 2 weeks, you can actually buy this car once it does become available, which, by the way, I definitely have to recommend to do so. This thing is honestly amazing. I love the way it drives. Not only that, it also sounds absolutely incredible. And what's kind of insane, by the way, is yes, it is going to be a drift car, which I do know many people are like, well, I kind of want like a street tier 2, but here's what's kind of insane about this thing, guys. Yes, you can drift it. But what's also going to be crazy about it is not only can you drift this vehicle, you can also grip. And I would say not even touching the pro settings on it, it basically does both. And it really does blow my mind how they actually balance this car out. Like, it really is going to be fast doing around 226 or so miles an hour. And of course, not only that, you obviously have a vehicle that can handle, but it can also drift. Now, what's kind of insane to me, though, is I do remember this vehicle being on GTA Online, of course, an insanely long time ago, and that basically made so many people happy. And now, of course, we have this thing in the Crew series, which is amazing. I'm not gonna lie, guys, when I actually saw, like, the main trailer for this game come out, and I saw something about Hoonigan, I immediately, like, flipped out. Like, this is by far one of my favorite, like, racing, I guess you can say, like, companies slash brands ever. I also have to say, rest in peace, Ken Block. Absolute legend, by the way. I really do love the Hoonicorn, guys. I love every vehicle that is part of it. Now, there is one thing I did want to go over with this vehicle, because I'm sure many people are also asking the exact same question. Is the Hoonicorn still going to be good even though it's going to be a drift class vehicle? And can you actually race this car around like a normal vehicle would be able to? For example, having the Hoonicorn in the Street Tier 2 category. So, first thing I have to admit, by the way, guys, I'm not going to lie. I wasn't all that excited when I saw this thing in the drift class only, but I have to admit now, driving this car for a few hours basically on it and messing around with it, I really have to give it to Ubisoft with how well balanced this thing actually is. Like, not only can you actually speed through certain corners with actually gripping, but you can easily go around the said turn and also drift at the exact same time. And I really do feel like it's almost like a perfect balance of how the car is. And I also really like what they actually did to the drift class in the Crew Motorfest compared to the Crew 2. In that game, you obviously could not really go that fast, and I felt like the cars were very unstable. Sure, you could probably go through them and most likely adjust their pro settings and stuff like that, but I really do feel like, guys, being able to jump into a vehicle like this one, and actually being able to drive this thing around for as long as you actually want to, and not even mess around with the settings whatsoever, is probably going to make it that much more enjoyable. And for some odd reason, I've been in first-person mode way too often in the recent days after this update. I basically have been driving every vehicle, including this Hoonicorn, in first-person view, which, by the way, you get a beautiful view of these said turbos coming out of the hood. And, of course, you have lots of backfire as well, which sounds incredible. And, guys, I did mention before, this car sounds absolutely amazing. One thing I really cannot get over is how much the car sounds have actually improved in this game compared to the Crew 2 before. Like, it really is going to be a huge difference compared to that game in, like, every single way. And not only that, you actually notice this in every single car that you actually drive. Like, for example, this thing does indeed have turbos, which, I would say you really can't miss on this thing. And, of course, they also make some insane fluttering sounds as you are actually driving it. And my goodness, by the way, in first-person view, you can hear the fluttering a bit more than you normally would be able to in third-person view. There's that beautiful backfire there. I really do love this car, though, guys. I would definitely recommend trying it. So here's a good example. In first-person view, by the way, you can easily go around these turns and not really drift. But I love the fact that the car actually doesn't mind doing it whenever. And I really feel like that's probably going to be one of the best perks about driving this car in the Crew Motorfest. Like, sure, sometimes the vehicles are probably not going to be all that great, or like, maybe you most likely want that said vehicle in maybe like a Street Tier 2 class or something like that, but My goodness, guys, this thing being in a drift class is absolutely incredible, and I would most likely say most of the lobbies are probably going to have this thing in there in basically every way. And then, of course, coming over to this area here, I do want to play this vehicle right now going through this area with the volume a bit higher. Now, when driving the Hoonicorn around, the biggest thing I probably think about most of the time is the engineering that does go behind making something like this. I mean, for one, it is going to be a lovely twin-turboed V8. That is also going to be all-wheel drive by itself. Like, that is going to be insane, guys, especially in a Mustang, considering most Mustangs in real life are indeed, rear-wheel drive. So, this thing is not only going to be a twin-turboed V8, but it also has all-wheel drive as well, which really is going to make it one of the craziest built vehicles ever. And my goodness, I really feel like nobody can get upset with the way this thing looks. Like, the overall design of this car really is going to be absolutely amazing. Like, for one, we do have the wide fenders on there with those really nice looking white rims. And then, of course, we have, like, the curves going around, like, the entire side of the vehicle. We indeed do see, like, the full roll cage in there, which I would say a car like this obviously does need. And then, of course, you see those huge turbos sticking out of the hood there. And you also see the V8 engine as well. Like, this thing is incredible. I'll never forget that one video with the guy from Friends. I think his name is Joey Tribbiani there. Or I think his name is like Matt LeBlanc or something like that. But he did indeed do a video with Ken Block, guys. I would definitely recommend checking that out. I'm actually going to leave a link in the description to check that video out. Like, he did end up going through London with Ken Block in the Hoonicorn. That was honestly one of the best videos ever. The way that man drove was absolutely amazing. I really do feel like everybody is going to have such a great time at the Hoonicorn, guys. Like, this car is so much fun to use in this game. Like, you can come over to the airport and basically drift around, like, basically effortless. And I really do feel like a lot of people are going to do some insane, like, cinematic type of videos with it, which I may also end up trying to do the exact same thing. I would say it's probably not hard to do with this car, but a lot of people are definitely going to experiment. Like, look how easy it drifts, and you really can have such a great time with it. And also, for some odd reason, I always get these really annoying things always popping up when I am recording. And of course, we also have the lovely button now that also takes forever. Let me sit here while that thing goes through. I really have to admit, guys, I did make a video about this recently, but why did they actually change that for everything? I do understand there was like an exploit going on, but farming parts and all that and actually doing lots of events and of course getting more parts over time, you are definitely going to be sitting there for a lot longer trying to get those actually deleted. But overall though, guys, I would like to know your thoughts on the Hoonicorn in the comments below. I would say right now in Motorfest, this is by far my favorite car in this game, and I would definitely recommend driving this thing if you have not. And if you do not have the Season Pass once again, all you will have to wait is 2 weeks, and you will be able to get this beauty.